Welcome to another puzzle session. This is on chessworld.net. You can try these puzzles from the play menu, rated puzzles page. I'll give you a link on the right hand side of the video. So let's see, number 600. How hard will this be today? Black to play. So one principle is to look for forcing moves, even outrageous ones, and sometimes they can spell out the tactical vulnerabilities. We can also alternatively try and look intuitively at the tactical vulnerabilities. There's a loose piece here. I don't think loose pieces are a major thing. The weaknesses of the pieces, I call them, is a broader concept, not just loose pieces, but other kind of weaknesses to identify of the pieces. King safety, I think, is a major thing. You've got the queen looking at a key square here, and the knight's controlling a few squares. Bishop's on that diagonal. It doesn't seem that relevant. We can start looking at forcing moves here. An outrageous one, knight e1 check. If takes queen f3, I'm not sure what that does. And there's also rook takes here. Mind you, we've got a trebled pieces here. So in that variation, queen f2 might be interesting. Another forcing move is knight h4 actually. Another one is queen h3. But knight h4, let's have a quick look at that. The interesting thing here is if king h1, I think we've got queen takes, mate. If g takes, then I think queen g4, king moves, and again rook takes f1. This trebling seems to be a very powerful strength of our pieces to match against the weaknesses of the opponent's pieces. King safety, major thing. I think it's knight h4. I'm pretty convinced. There's a counter below. I've got 200 seconds left. So if it was a real game, of course, you don't want to use up all your time. But here it seems knight h4 is pretty clear cut. The other thing is, hold on a sec, king g1. But again, the trebling, queen takes f1, takes. So I think it's knight h4. Right, so queen g4 looks crushing. I don't think it's anything else. It looks fairly convincing, queen g4. Yeah, just taking here. Alright, that was without too much pain. I hope you guys got that as well. So let's go on to the next one. Okay, so again, just quickly looking at this position from fresh, we can either try and sense tactical vulnerabilities, and it's white's play. Actually, we seem to have a weak back row here. Black's king safety seems to be a problem. There's coordination on f8. Okay, there's a loose rook here actually. So if there's any double attacks, but that's one instance of a weakness of the piece of a piece. There's other weaknesses of the pieces. King safety, very weak piece. The king fragile, and it seems actually we can chase the king. If we start looking at forcing moves here, we can actually chase the king to g6 with queen f8, queen g7, king h5, and in fact we've got the resource g4, king h4. In that position, it looks as though we've got to carry on the forcing moves. Bishop takes, maybe, is check, takes, and I think, and I've really kind of lost track of the position by this point. Queen takes, isn't there just bishop h5? No, we've got the g4 pawn, so I think queen takes. Let's look at that again. So we're chasing the king chase, queen f8. King g6, queen g7, king h5, g4, king's on the dark square. Bishop's more powerful when the king's on the dark square for checks. Bishop takes. Now if king h3, I think in that position, couldn't we just use the h file? And in fact, I don't think there's anything else we can do with our resources here, because this rook's not really joining in the attack. There's no queen c7. I mean, we can also rule out by elimination here. It seems queen f8 is the only thing to do and pursue the king chase. Unless an immediate first g4 is plausible. An immediate first g4, but maybe king g6. Does it change the picture? Queen f8. Well, that is interesting if g4 works straight off the bat. If black hasn't got an immediate forcing move, it's worth considering. It might be the right move. But we look at this again, it seems to run fairly efficiently. G4, king here. The only risk is the king, you know, if we're running out of checks, but I don't think with bishop G5. I think I'm going to go for queen F8. It might be wrong. Alright. Check. So I think this G4 is a key resource. It also gives us control of that H5 square here. So that bishop H5 isn't a saving resource. So I think it must be bishop takes G5 as previously calculated. Sometimes it's worth revisiting the position. I know we've kind of cached up, you know, as in browser cache, we've cached that we've remembered our previous analysis. But here, I can't see anything else really, apart from bishop takes G5. So now, I think either taking here or queen H6, I think they both do the same thing. Oh, that was a neat one. I do wonder about the immediate G4, but because you have to be a bit concerned when it's not a total forcing move. So agitating against Phil, I think, I mean, I can't see a because it's not a total forcing move, it's giving black more options, which some of them could be really killing white's attack. In fact, for example, queen C5. That's sneaky. Whoops. And we're defending F8. So I think, yeah, if you give the opponent options, they've got a wealth of resources available. Queen C5. And in fact, because of the back row, we've had it. And we've got our bishop trapped here, by the way, as well. So, yeah, running it all with check is often the way to go. In the general sense, using forcing moves in general middle games sometimes has a downside that you're releasing the tension, you're untangling the opponent's pieces. It's a reassurance when you've got a winning position to find a winning combination with forcing moves. But in the general scheme of middle game, sometimes it's a bad mistake to rely just on forcing moves when you can keep the tension in positions, etc. So when you're in puzzle mode, though, forcing moves are of primary importance to solve puzzles. But in general, you know, play chess mode, you know, they're not the golden bullet really, because chess is a very complex game. It's not just about calculating forcing moves, but for limiting the opponent's options, it's a fantastic, you know, tool of choice. Now, white's play here, immediately again, king safety seems to be the weakness of the pieces, and the forcing moves reinforce that fact with knight G5 looking extremely dangerous. Because king takes, there seems to be rook E6. It seems actually this could be an easy one. This could be quite an easy one with knight G5, because I can't actually see what black does there. King F8, rook E8. I think I'm going to go for it. So I think it's just rook E6. That is checkmate. That's my eyes are deceiving. So that was in Nidish, who's playing in the Grand Classic at the moment against Conneru. And that's an Indian grandmaster. Yeah, so takes that. Or with king F8, rook F8. So Nidish, great attacking player. So black obviously had positional difficulties before this, not developing the queen side. Okay, I hope you got something from this session today. Comments or questions on YouTube. Thanks very much.